Snow buried the park that night, thick, silent, merciless. Claire sat alone on the frozen bench, shivering in nothing but a summer dress, no coat, no phone, no way home. Her husband had dumped her there an hour ago, just drove off without looking back. "You're broken, infertile, what good are you to me?" His words cut deeper than the cold. The divorce papers were still clutched in her numb fingers. Her lips had turned blue, her body shutting down 1 degree at a time. "This is how I die," she thought. "Alone. Worthless." Then headlights pierced through the snow. A black Mercedes pulled up, the door opened. A man in an expensive coat stepped out, tall, commanding, impossibly calm. His eyes found hers through the blizzard. He crouched down in front of her, his voice low and steady. "Come with me." Not a question, an offer. Claire stared at him through frozen tears. Was this stranger her last chance at survival, or the beginning of something she never saw coming? Claire's fingers had gone completely numb. She couldn't feel the divorce papers anymore, couldn't even grip her phone when it slipped from her hand into the snow. Her breath came out in desperate white clouds, each one weaker than the last, eyelashes frozen together, tiny crystals clinging like daggers. Riverside Park in Hartford, Connecticut had been her sanctuary once, summer afternoons watching the Connecticut River flow past, dreaming of the family she'd have someday. Now it was her graveyard. A jogger passed by, earbuds in, deliberately looking away. A couple walked their golden retriever on the main path, the woman whispering to her husband before they hurried along. Nobody helped, nobody even stopped. Beneath the thin fabric of her dress, Claire clutched something against her chest. A small baby blanket, pale yellow with tiny ducks embroidered along the edge. She'd bought it 3 years ago in a Boston boutique, back when hope still lived in her heart, back when she believed the doctors were wrong, that maybe, just maybe, she could give Derek the child he wanted. She never told him about the blanket. It was her secret shame now, evidence of foolish dreams. Her body was shutting down. She could feel it in the way her thoughts slowed, in the way the cold stopped hurting and started feeling like sleep. The kind of sleep you don't wake up from. Let me just rest, she thought. Just for a minute. 20 minutes earlier, across town, Marcus Chen had been sitting in his home office staring at a photograph he kept in his desk drawer, one he only looked at on the hardest days. His late wife, Elena, holding their daughter Sophia when she was just 6 months old. The adoption papers had been finalized that morning, and Elena's smile was radiant despite the sadness that never quite left her eyes. The sadness that came from years of being told she was broken, defective, less than, all because her body couldn't carry a child. Marcus had spent their entire marriage trying to convince her otherwise. Even after they adopted Sophia, even after their family was complete, Elena never fully believed she was enough. Then came the car accident 2 years ago, Elena pushing Sophia out of the path of an oncoming truck, taking the impact herself. She died believing she'd failed at the one thing society told her mattered most. Marcus closed the drawer, the familiar weight of regret settling in his chest like stone. "Daddy, can we go get hot chocolate?" Sophia appeared in the doorway, 7 years old with Elena's dark eyes and stubborn chin. "It's snowing really hard." He smiled despite himself. She had a way of pulling him back from the edge of grief. "Bundle up warm, sweetheart, I'll get the car." The Mercedes hummed to life, heat blasting as they drove through West Hartford's exclusive neighborhoods toward the small cafe Sophia loved. She chatted about school, about her best friend Maya, about the snow fort she wanted to build tomorrow. Marcus listened with half his attention, the other half still trapped in that desk drawer with Elena's photograph. Then Sophia went quiet. "Daddy, stop." He glanced in the rearview mirror. Her face was pressed against the window, breath fogging the glass. "What is it, honey?" "There's a lady in the park." Her voice was small, frightened. "She's not moving." Marcus followed her gaze across Riverside Park. Through the swirling snow, he could barely make out a figure on a bench, hunched and still. Probably homeless, he thought automatically, then immediately hated himself for the assumption. "She's going to die if we leave her," Sophia whispered, and something in her voice, the certainty, the urgency, made him pull over. He sat there for a moment, engine idling, watching the figure through the snow. "Walk away," the logical part of his brain said. "Call 911 and let them handle it." But Sophia was already unbuckling her seatbelt. "We have to help her, Daddy. We have to." Marcus thought of Elena, of all the times she'd needed help and been too ashamed to ask, of all the people who'd looked away from her pain because it made them uncomfortable. He turned off the engine. The cold hit him like a wall when he stepped out. His expensive cashmere coat was nothing against the wind that screamed through the park. He could see the woman more clearly now, young, maybe early 30s, wearing what looked like a summer dress, completely inappropriate for a Connecticut blizzard. What the hell happened here? As he got closer, he noticed details that made his chest tighten. Divorce papers scattered in the snow around her feet, a phone face down in a drift, lips that had gone from blue to purple. She was dying, 20 minutes, maybe less, before hypothermia took her completely. Marcus crouched down in front of her, careful not to startle her. Up close, he could see her face, and his breath caught. She had the same look Elena had worn in those final years, hollow, defeated, like someone who'd been told so many times they were worthless that they'd started to believe it. Has no one helped you? His voice came out softer than he intended, almost a whisper. The woman's eyes, grey-green, like sea glass, focused on him with difficulty. Her jaw was locked from the cold, but he saw the answer in her expression. No one. No one stopped. Behind him, Sophia's voice drifted from the car. Is she okay, Daddy? Marcus stood, removing his cashmere coat in one fluid motion. He wrapped it around the woman's shoulders himself, and she flinched at the touch, not from cold, but from surprise that anyone would bother. Can you stand? He asked gently. Before she could answer, tires screeched on the park road. A pickup truck skidded to a stop, and a man jumped out, mid-30s, disheveled, reeking of alcohol even from 10 feet away. Claire! His voice was pure rage. Get in the truck, now! So her name was Claire. Marcus stepped between them instinctively, his body language shifting into something Sophia had rarely seen. The version of her father who commanded boardrooms, who made billion-dollar decisions without flinching. She's not going anywhere with a man who leaves her to freeze, Marcus said quietly, but every word carried weight. The drunk man, her husband, Marcus realized, puffed up, trying to intimidate. This is none of your business. She's my wife. Your ex-wife, from the papers she's holding. Marcus's tone didn't rise, but it hardened. And unless you want me to call the police for abandonment and endangerment, I suggest you leave, now. The man looked at Claire, then at Marcus, then at the Mercedes idling behind them. Whatever he saw in Marcus's expression made him reconsider. He spat in the snow. Keep her, she's defective anyway. The truck roared away, leaving only exhaust fumes and the echo of cruelty hanging in the frozen air. Marcus turned back to Claire. She was staring at him through frozen tears, shock and confusion and desperate hope warring on her face. I'm Marcus, he said simply. That's my daughter, Sophia. We're not going to hurt you, but you need help, and you need it now. He held out his hand. Claire looked at his hand, steady, warm, extended without judgment, then at the Mercedes where a little girl watched with wide, worried eyes. She had a choice, stay here and die in the cold, or trust a stranger who'd stopped when everyone else kept walking. Her fingers, numb and clumsy, reached for his. Techniques, subtext and silence, pacing, slowed, emotional stakes. Claire's hand trembled in Marcus's grip, not just from the cold, but from the strangeness of being touched with gentleness instead of contempt. He helped her stand, her legs barely holding her weight. The world tilted sideways, black spots dancing across her vision. I've got you, Marcus said, and somehow she believed him. Sophia had already opened the back door, pushing aside her backpack to make room. You can sit with me, I have an extra blanket, the fuzzy one Grandma made. Claire climbed into the Mercedes on instinct, survival overriding shame. The moment the door closed, heat wrapped around her like a miracle. She couldn't stop shaking, violent tremors that rattled her teeth, her body trying desperately to rewarm itself. Sophia immediately draped the blanket over her shoulders, tucking it around her with the careful precision of a child who'd learned to care for others. It's okay, you're safe now. Safe. The word felt foreign. Marcus slid into the driver's seat, his eyes finding Claire's in the rearview mirror. There's a hospital 3 miles from here. No. Claire's voice cracked, barely audible. No hospitals, please. She couldn't explain why, couldn't tell him that hospitals meant fertility treatments, meant Derek's disappointment every negative test, meant doctors saying I'm sorry, but your ovaries aren't responding, meant years of being poked and prodded and declared broken. Marcus studied her for a long moment, then nodded. My home is 10 minutes away, I'll call my personal physician, she'll come to us. Personal physician. Claire's mind struggled to process the casual wealth in those words. What's your name? Sophia asked, her small hand finding Claire's frozen one beneath the blanket. Claire, she whispered. That's pretty, like the sound bells make. Sophia smiled, gap-toothed and genuine. I'm Sophia. I'm 7 3/4. That's my daddy. He's really good at helping people. Claire's throat tightened. She looked down at their joined hands, hers blue-white and trembling, Sophia's small and warm and completely unafraid. When was the last time someone held her hand without wanting something in return? The Mercedes glided through snow-covered streets, leaving Riverside Park behind. Claire watched through the window as they entered West Hartford's most exclusive neighborhood. Estates hidden behind iron gates, driveways lined with old-growth trees, the kind of wealth that didn't announce itself but simply was. Marcus pulled up to a sprawling colonial mansion, lights glowing golden against the storm. It looked like something from a Christmas movie, all warmth and welcome. "Can you walk?" he asked gently, already pulling out his phone. "Dr. Reeves, I need you at my home immediately. Possible hypothermia case, critical." Claire tried to stand when he opened her door, but her legs gave out. Before she could hit the ground, Marcus caught her, one arm beneath her knees, the other supporting her back. He lifted her as if she weighed nothing. "I'm sorry," Claire gasped, mortified. "I can walk, I don't need." "You almost died 20 minutes ago," Marcus said quietly, carrying her toward the house. "Let someone help you." Sophia ran ahead, pushing open the front door. Warm air rushed out, carrying the scent of vanilla and cinnamon. Someone had been baking. Inside, the mansion was elegant but lived in. A child's drawings magnetized to a sub-zero refrigerator, books scattered across leather sofas, a half-finished puzzle on the coffee table. Not a showroom, a home. Marcus set Claire down carefully on a plush couch in the living room, wrapping another blanket around her. "Dr. Reeves will be here in 15 minutes. Until then, we need to warm you slowly." He disappeared into the kitchen, returning with a thermos. Warm broth, small sips. Claire's hands shook too badly to hold it. Without a word, Marcus sat beside her and held the thermos to her lips himself. The broth burned going down, but it was the good kind of burn, the kind that reminded her she was still alive. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered between sips. Marcus was quiet for a moment, his dark eyes distant. "Because 2 years ago, my wife needed help and I wasn't there. I was in a board meeting in San Francisco when she pushed our daughter out of the path of a truck." His voice was steady, but Claire heard the fracture beneath it. "She died believing she wasn't enough, believing she'd failed because her body couldn't give me a biological child." Claire's breath caught. "When I saw you in that park," Marcus met her eyes, and Claire saw recognition there, saw shared pain. "You had the same look she did, the look of someone who's been told they are worthless so many times they've started to believe it." Tears slipped down Claire's frozen cheeks, hot against her cold skin. Sophia climbed onto the couch beside her, pressing close. "Daddy says Mommy is an angel now, and angels send people to help us when we need it most." The doorbell rang, Dr. Reeves arriving with a medical bag and grim efficiency. While the doctor examined her, Claire stared at the divorce papers still clutched in her hand, Derek's signature bold and careless at the bottom. "You're broken. Infertile. What good are you to me?" But in this warm house, with a grieving widower who'd stopped when everyone else kept walking and a 7-year-old holding her hand like she mattered. Maybe broken wasn't what she'd thought it was. Maybe broken was what Derek had made her believe, not what she actually was. The thought was terrifying and hopeful in equal measure. Dr. Reeves packed her stethoscope with clinical precision, her expression grave. "Early-stage hypothermia. Core temperature is 8 to 9 degrees. Another 20 minutes and we'd be talking about amputation, organ failure, or worse." She turned to Claire, her voice softening. "You're extremely lucky he found you when he did." "Lucky?" Claire almost laughed at the word. "I've administered warming fluids and started her on antibiotics as a precaution." Dr. Reeves continued, addressing Marcus. "She needs rest, warmth, and monitoring through the night. Any dizziness, confusion, or respiratory distress, you call me immediately." Marcus nodded, walking the doctor to the door while Sophia stayed planted beside Claire like a small, determined guardian. The moment they were alone, Claire tried to stand. Her body screamed in protest, muscles cramping viciously. "Where are you going?" Sophia asked, worry creasing her young face. "I should," Claire's voice was hoarse. "I should leave. I've already imposed too much." Imposed. As if nearly dying was an inconvenience she'd chosen. "But it's still snowing," Sophia said simply, as if that explained everything. "And you don't have a coat. Daddy gave you his, remember?" Claire looked down at the cashmere coat still wrapped around her shoulders, probably worth more than 3 months of her old salary at the insurance firm Derek had made her quit 2 years ago. "So you can focus on getting pregnant," he'd said. "That's your real job now." I can call someone. But even as Claire said it, she knew it was a lie. There was no one to call. Her parents had sided with Derek after the infertility diagnosis, her friends had slowly disappeared under his isolation tactics, and her sister Vanessa. The thought of Vanessa made Claire's stomach turn. Marcus returned, reading her expression with unsettling accuracy. You're not leaving tonight, the roads are undrivable, and you're in no condition to go anywhere. I don't want to be a burden, Claire said, the words automatic after years of being told she was exactly that. You're not. Marcus's tone was firm but not unkind. The guest room is upstairs, second door on the right, Sophia can show you. But Claire couldn't move, couldn't accept this kindness. It felt like a trap, like something that would be weaponized against her later. Derek had been nice once too, before the diagnosis, before the cruelty became casual. I don't even know you, she whispered. I know. Marcus crouched down so they were eye level, the same way he had in the park. But I'm not asking you to trust me, I'm asking you to trust yourself enough to survive the night. The words hit harder than they should have. Sophia tugged gently on Claire's hand. Come on, I'll show you where everything is. We have extra toothbrushes and pajamas that might fit. Claire let herself be led upstairs, each step an act of surrender she wasn't sure she was ready for. The guest room was beautiful, cream walls, a four-poster bed with a down comforter that looked like a cloud, an in-suite bathroom with heated floors. Through the window, Claire could see the snow still falling, burying the world in white. Sophia pulled pajamas from a dresser, soft flannel, clearly expensive. These were Mommy's, Daddy keeps them in here for guests, but I think she'd want you to wear them. Claire's hands trembled as she took the pajamas. Your daddy told me about your mom, I'm so sorry. Sophia's expression was older than her 7 years. She was sad a lot, even when she smiled. Daddy tried to make her happy, but I think some sad is too big for other people to fix. The wisdom in those words made Claire's chest ache. Do you need help? Sophia asked, noticing Claire's struggle with the buttons on her ruined dress. I can manage, Claire said quickly, too quickly. But her fingers were still numb, still clumsy. After 3 failed attempts, Sophia simply stepped forward and began unbuttoning with the matter-of-fact efficiency of a child used to helping. When the dress fell away, Sophia gasped. Claire looked down, seeing what the child saw, bruises on her arms in the shape of fingerprints, old ones yellowing at the edges, newer ones still purple-black. Did that man hurt you? Sophia's voice was small, frightened. Claire wanted to lie, wanted to say she'd fallen, been clumsy, anything but the truth. But something in Sophia's eyes stopped her. Yes, she whispered. For a long time. Sophia's small arms wrapped around Claire's waist, fierce and protective. You don't have to go back, Daddy won't let him hurt you anymore. I won't let him either. Claire's tears came then, hot and unstoppable. She sank to her knees and let this 7-year-old child hold her while she shattered. Downstairs, Marcus stood in his study, staring at his phone. The viral video had reached him, some teenager's footage from the park, Claire freezing on that bench while people walked past. 3 million views and climbing, comments filled with outrage and demands to identify the husband who'd abandoned her. Marcus scrolled through his contacts, found his lawyer's number. Whatever was coming next, Claire would need protection, legal, financial, physical. Derek would come back, men like him always did, especially once they realized their victim had found refuge. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. She's in bed, Sophia announced, padding into the study in her unicorn slippers. But Daddy, she has bruises, lots of them, that man hurt her before tonight. Marcus's jaw tightened, fury rising hot and immediate in his chest. We're keeping her safe, Sophia said with absolute certainty. Right, Daddy, like Mommy would have wanted. Marcus pulled his daughter close, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Right, sweetheart, like Mommy would have wanted. Upstairs, Claire lay in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling. She should feel grateful, relieved, safe, but all she felt was terrified. Because kindness, in her experience, always came with a price, and she had nothing left to pay. Her phone, retrieved from the snow by Marcus's driver, sat charging on the nightstand, dark and silent. 17 missed calls from Derek. 23 text messages, each one escalating from apology to rage. Baby, I'm sorry, I was drunk. You embarrassed me in front of a stranger. Everyone will know you're defective now. You OWE me for the years I wasted. Claire's finger hovered over the delete button, but years of conditioning made her hesitate. What if he's right? What if I do owe him? The baby blanket was still tucked inside her ruined dress, somehow surviving the night. Claire pulled it out, running her thumb over the embroidered ducks. Evidence of hope or evidence of delusion. She didn't know anymore. Through the wall, she could hear Sophia's muffled voice talking to Marcus, the low rumble of his response, the sound of a family saying good night. A sound she'd thought she'd have by now. A sound Derek had promised, then blamed her for destroying. Claire clutched the blanket to her chest and let the exhaustion finally take her. But even in sleep, she couldn't escape the cold. Claire woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the warmth registered, the softness of the bed, the absence of Derek's presence in the room, and everything from the night before crashed back. The park, the cold, the stranger who'd stopped. She sat up too quickly. The room spun, nausea rising in her throat. A gentle knock at the door. "Claire, are you awake?" Marcus's voice, careful and respectful even through wood. "Yes," she managed. "May I come in?" She pulled the blanket up to her chin, ridiculous modesty considering he'd literally saved her life, but old habits died hard. "Okay." Marcus entered carrying a breakfast tray, scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice, a small vase with a single white rose. "Sophia insisted on the flower," he said with a slight smile. "She's very determined when it comes to making people feel welcome." Claire stared at the tray, something in her chest cracking open. "You didn't have to." "I know." Marcus set the tray on her lap, his movements careful not to crowd her. "But I wanted to." The distinction mattered somehow. He moved to the window, giving her space while she ate. Outside, the world was buried under 2 feet of fresh snow, cars barely visible beneath white mounds. "The city's declared a state of emergency," Marcus said quietly. "Roads won't be passable for at least 72 hours. Plows can't keep up with the accumulation." 72 hours. 3 days trapped here with strangers who'd shown her more kindness in 12 hours than her husband had in 5 years. "I can find a hotel," Claire started, but Marcus turned to face her. "With what money? What transportation?" His voice wasn't cruel, just factual. "And even if you could, why would you choose to be alone right now?" "Because alone was safer. Because alone meant no one could hurt her, disappoint her, leave her." But she didn't say that. "I saw the video," Marcus continued, pulling out his phone. "The one from the park, it's gone viral. People are trying to identify your husband, demanding justice." He showed her the screen, her own face, frozen and desperate, strangers walking past without stopping. The caption read, "This woman's husband left her to freeze. Who is she? Someone find her." 3.7 million views. Claire's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh God, Derek's going to face consequences for once in his miserable life," Marcus said firmly. "But that's not what you need to worry about right now." He sat on the edge of the bed, careful to maintain distance. "I need to tell you something you're not going to want to hear." Claire's stomach dropped. "Here it comes, the price, the expectation, the catch." "My investigator did a preliminary background check last night," Marcus said. "Standard procedure when bringing someone into my home with my daughter present. I hope you understand." She nodded numbly, waiting for the axe to fall. "Your husband's been having an affair for 8 months. Marcus's voice was gentle, but the words still hit like bullets. "With your sister, Vanessa, she's 3 months pregnant." The room tilted. Claire couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Vanessa, her baby sister, who'd held her hand through every failed fertility treatment, who'd promised it'll happen. Claire, "I know it will," who'd sat across from her at Thanksgiving dinner just 2 months ago and smiled like nothing was wrong. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "I know this is." "When?" Claire's voice was hollow. "When did you find out it was her?" "Last night, public records, social media cross-referencing." He hesitated. "There are photos, Claire, they've been careful, but not careful enough." He showed her his phone again, Vanessa and Derek at a restaurant Claire recognized, his hand on her sister's barely visible baby bump, both of them smiling. The date stamp, 3 weeks ago. The same week Derek had screamed at Claire for burning dinner, for being useless, for failing at the one thing women are supposed to do. "They've been planning this," Claire whispered. "The divorce, the abandonment, they wanted me gone so they could." She couldn't finish the sentence. Sophia appeared in the doorway, carrying a stuffed elephant. "I thought you might want Edgar. He helps when I'm sad." The child climbed onto the bed without invitation, pressing the worn elephant into Claire's hands. Up close, Claire could see it was old, loved, probably Sophia's comfort object since infancy. "You don't have to give me your special elephant," Claire said, throat tight. I'm sharing him, Sophia corrected. There's a difference, Mommy taught me that. Marcus's expression softened watching his daughter, grief and pride mixing in his eyes. Daddy, can Claire stay with us until the snow goes away? Sophia asked. She shouldn't be alone. Alone is the worst kind of sad. Alone is the worst kind of sad. 7 years old and already understanding what Claire had spent her whole life trying to deny. That's up to Claire, Marcus said gently. Both of them looked at her, this widowed billionaire and his wise beyond her years daughter, offering sanctuary without strings. Claire clutched the stuffed elephant, feeling its worn softness beneath her fingers. She had nowhere else to go, no one else to call. But more terrifying than that, she didn't want to leave. For the first time in years, she didn't want to be alone. Okay, she whispered. Just until the road's clear. Sophia beamed, wrapping her small arms around Claire's neck. You're going to love it here. We have hot chocolate every night and Daddy lets me pick the movies on weekends. Marcus met Claire's eyes over his daughter's head, and something passed between them, understanding, maybe, or recognition. Two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole again. 3 days, Claire told herself. She could survive 3 days of kindness. What she didn't know yet was that kindness, once tasted after years of cruelty, becomes the most addictive thing in the world. The 3 days stretched into something Claire hadn't expected, routine. Morning breakfast with Sophia chattering about her virtual school lessons. The blizzard had closed buildings across Hartford. Afternoons in the library where Marcus worked from home, conference calls conducted in that calm, commanding voice while Claire pretended to read. Evenings with hot chocolate and Pixar movies. Sophia nestled between them on the sectional sofa like this was normal, like Claire belonged there. It terrified her how quickly it started to feel real. On the second night, after Sophia had gone to bed, Marcus found Claire standing in front of the fireplace, staring at a family photograph on the mantel, him, Elena, and baby Sophia at what looked like a beach somewhere warm. Maui, Marcus said quietly, answering her unspoken question. 2 months before the accident, it was the first time I'd seen Elena truly happy in years. Claire traced the edge of the frame without touching it. She's beautiful. She was also convinced she was worthless. Marcus poured 2 glasses of wine, offered her one. The infertility consumed her, every failed treatment, every negative test, every well-meaning relative asking when we'd have children. It was like death by 1,000 cuts. Claire's fingers tightened around the wine glass. She knew that death intimately. I tried everything, Marcus continued, his voice roughening. Therapy, support groups, adoption agencies. We adopted Sophia when Elena was 36. Thought maybe it would help her see that biology didn't matter, that family was choice, not blood. Did it help? Claire asked softly. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Some days, yes, when Sophia called her mama for the first time, when they'd bake cookies together and Elena would get flour in her hair and laugh. Those days, I thought we'd made it through. He paused, swirling his wine. But other days, the days when her sister announced another pregnancy, when strangers at the park assumed she was the nanny, when her own mother said it's not the same as having your own, those days, the darkness came back. Claire's vision blurred. She'd heard those same words, felt that same darkness. The night of the accident, we'd just come from her parents' house, Marcus said. Her brother had announced his wife was pregnant with their third. Elena smiled through dinner, congratulated them, acted like it didn't destroy her. But in the car, she finally broke down. His voice cracked. She was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe, saying she'd failed me, failed Sophia, failed everyone. I was trying to comfort her and drive at the same time when the truck ran the red light. Claire's hand found his arm without thinking. Marcus. She pushed Sophia out of the way. He continued, staring into the fire. Our daughter was in the back seat right behind Elena. The truck hit the driver's side at 60 miles per hour. Elena died instantly, and her last thought was probably that she wasn't enough. The words hung in the air, heavy and irreversible. I never got to convince her, Marcus whispered. Never got to make her believe that she was everything, that her worth had nothing to do with her uterus, that I'd chosen her every single day, biology be damned. Claire set down her wine glass, her hands shaking. Derek told me the same things, that I'd failed him, that I was defective, that no amount of love or loyalty mattered if I couldn't give him a child. How long? Marcus asked. 5 years married, 2 years trying to conceive before the diagnosis. Claire's voice was mechanical, detached. Premature ovarian failure. My eggs were essentially non-viable by the time I was 28. The doctors said maybe 1% chance of natural conception, better odds with donor eggs. And Derek? He said donor eggs would mean the child wasn't really his, said he didn't want to raise someone else's baby. The irony of that statement, given Vanessa's pregnancy, made Claire laugh bitterly. He made me quit my job so I could focus on getting pregnant, cut me off from friends who had children because it stressed me out, convinced my family that I was the problem. Marcus's jaw tightened. Isolation and blame, classic abuse tactics. I didn't think of it as abuse, Claire admitted. I genuinely believed I deserved it, that if I just tried harder, wanted it more, was better somehow. Her voice broke. Marcus set down his own glass, turning to face her fully. Claire, look at me. She did, and found his dark eyes fierce with conviction. You are not broken, he said, each word deliberate. You are not defective. You are not less than. Your body's inability to conceive does not diminish your worth as a person, as a partner, as a woman. How can you say that? Claire whispered. You don't even know me. I know you clutched a baby blanket against your chest while you were dying. I know you apologized for being a burden while suffering from hypothermia. I know you tried to protect my feelings about Elena's death even though you were drowning in your own grief. Marcus's voice was gentle but unyielding. I know enough. Claire's tears fell freely now, years of shame and pain finally finding release. Elena needed to hear these words, Marcus continued. I said them 1,000 times, but she couldn't believe them, maybe because they came from her husband, maybe because society's message was louder than mine, I don't know. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a worn piece of paper, a handwritten letter, creased from being folded and unfolded countless times. I found this in her journal after she died, Marcus said quietly. She wrote it 2 days before the accident. He handed it to Claire, in elegant script, Elena had written. I am trying so hard to believe I am enough. Trying to believe that Marcus loves me for who I am, not what I can't give him. Trying to believe Sophia doesn't need a sibling to be happy. Trying to believe my body's failure isn't my soul's failure too. Some days I almost get there. Most days I don't. I'm so tired of trying. Claire's chest constricted. She could have written those exact words herself. Don't let Derek steal your whole life the way society's judgment stole Elena's, Marcus said. Don't spend your days trying to believe you're enough. Know you're enough. Choose people who already see it, and walk away from anyone who tells you otherwise. The fire crackled between them, casting shadows that danced across Marcus's face. I'm scared, Claire admitted. Scared that even if I leave Derek, even if I build a new life, I'll still believe the lies, I'll still feel broken. Then we'll remind you every day until you don't, a small voice said from the staircase. Sophia stood there in her unicorn pajamas, Edgar the elephant tucked under one arm. Sweetie, you should be asleep, Marcus said gently. I heard crying. Sophia padded over, climbing into Claire's lap with the ease of a child who'd decided someone was safe. Mommy used to cry at night too. I'd hear her through the walls. She looked up at Claire with eyes too old for her face. Daddy's right, you're not broken, you're just hurt, and hurt people need other people to help them remember they are whole. Claire wrapped her arms around this 7-year-old philosopher, this child who'd lost her mother but somehow hadn't lost her capacity for love. Thank you, Claire whispered into Sophia's hair. You're welcome. Now can we have cookies? Sad talking always needs cookies. Marcus laughed despite himself, the tension breaking. It's 9:30 at night. Emotional emergency cookies don't count, Sophia insisted with perfect 7-year-old logic. And so they ended up in the kitchen at 9:30 on a Wednesday night, eating Oreos and drinking milk, talking about everything and nothing. Sophia's favorite teacher, Marcus's worst business deal, Claire's childhood dream of being a marine biologist before life got in the way. For a few hours, Claire forgot to feel broken. She just felt there, present, part of something. When Sophia finally fell asleep on the couch, Marcus carried her upstairs. Claire followed, watching as he tucked his daughter in with practiced tenderness, kissing her forehead and whispering something in Mandarin that made Sophia smile in her sleep. What did you say? Claire asked as they left the room. Marcus's expression was soft. I said, you have your mother's heart, brave and full of love. They stood in the hallway, the house quiet around them. Thank you, Claire said. For tonight, for the letter, for everything. You don't have to thank me for basic human decency, Marcus replied. That's the bare minimum. You deserve so much more than bare minimum. Their eyes met in the dim hallway light, and something shifted, something fragile and terrifying and impossibly hopeful. Then Claire's phone buzzed in her pocket, shattering the moment. A text from an unknown number. I know where you are. You think you can hide with some rich asshole and forget your responsibilities. You're still my wife. I'm coming for what's mine. Derek had found her. Claire's hands shook as she showed Marcus the text, the words blurring through her panic. Marcus read it once, his expression hardening into something cold and dangerous. He doesn't know where you are. He's fishing, trying to scare you into responding. How can you be sure? Because if he knew, he'd already be at the gate making a scene. Marcus took the phone gently from her trembling fingers. May I? Claire nodded, watching as he forwarded the message to someone in his contacts. My head of security, Marcus explained. We'll document everything, build a case, harassment, threats, abandonment. When this goes to court, Derek won't have a leg to stand on. Court. The word made Claire's stomach churn. I can't afford lawyers, can't afford. You're not paying for anything, Marcus said firmly. Consider it an investment in justice, something I should have pursued more aggressively for Elena when her family made her feel worthless. Claire wanted to argue, to insist she couldn't accept more help. But the truth was, she had nothing left to fight with. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. Okay, she whispered. Marcus's phone buzzed, his security chief responding. He's putting a trace on the number, monitoring for any attempts to geolocate your phone. In the meantime, you're safe here. Safe. That word again, the one Claire was slowly starting to believe. Come on, Marcus said, surprising her by taking her hand. I want to show you something. He led her downstairs to a part of the house she hadn't seen, through the kitchen, down a hallway lined with Sophia's artwork, to a heavy wooden door. Beyond it was a greenhouse, glass walls revealing the snow-covered gardens outside, but inside, warmth, humidity, the rich scent of soil and growing things. Orchids bloomed in carefully controlled microclimates, purples, whites, yellows, each one more stunning than the last. Elena's project, Marcus said quietly, walking among the plants with reverence. She started growing them after the diagnosis, said if her body couldn't create life, she'd create it another way. Claire moved through the greenhouse, touching soft petals with gentle fingers. They are beautiful. They are also incredibly difficult, Marcus said with a slight smile. Temperamental, demanding specific conditions, seemingly dead for months before suddenly blooming, Elena identified with them, I think. He stopped in front of a particularly striking purple orchid, its blooms cascading like a waterfall. This one didn't flower for 3 years. She almost gave up on it dozens of times, thought maybe it was defective, incapable. But it wasn't, Claire breathed, seeing where this was going. No, it just needed the right conditions, the right care, the right patience. Marcus met her eyes. It bloomed 2 weeks before she died. She cried when she saw it, said maybe she'd been wrong about broken things. Claire's throat tightened. Do you still take care of them? Every day. It's how I stay connected to her, how I remind myself that growth isn't linear, that dormancy isn't death. He plucked a small cutting from a nearby plant, placed it in Claire's palm. Elena would have wanted you to have this. She always gave cuttings to people she thought needed reminding. The tiny orchid cutting sat in Claire's hand, fragile and full of possibility. I don't know how to take care of it, Claire admitted. Neither did Elena when she started. You learn as you go, make mistakes, adjust. That's how everything worth having works. Marcus's smile was sad but genuine. I'll teach you, if you'd like. If you'd like. Not an obligation, not a debt, just an offer. I'd like that, Claire said softly. They stood there among Elena's legacy, the snow falling outside, the warmth wrapping around them like a promise. Can I ask you something? Claire ventured after a moment. Why are you really doing this? And don't say it's just about Elena. Marcus was quiet, considering his words carefully. Because when I saw you in that park, I saw someone who'd given up, not just on Derek, but on yourself, on the possibility that life could be different. I recognized it because I'd been there too, after Elena died. He touched one of the orchid blooms, his fingers gentle. For 6 months after the funeral, I went through the motions, work, Sophia, sleep, repeat. I was alive but not living, present but not there. What changed? Claire asked. Sophia asked me if I was going to die too, Marcus said, his voice cracking slightly. She was 6 years old and terrified that sadness was contagious, that grief would take me the same way the accident took her mother. He turned to face Claire fully. That night, I stood in this greenhouse and made a promise to Elena's memory. I wouldn't waste the life she'd saved by pushing Sophia out of harm's way. I'd live enough for both of us, love enough for both of us, I'd be the kind of person who stops when someone's freezing, who helps when it's inconvenient, who sees worth where others see brokenness. Claire's tears fell silently, each word landing like a benediction. So that's why, Marcus finished. Because you deserve someone who stops. Because Elena deserved someone who saw her worth, and I failed her in 1,000 small ways. Because Sophia is watching and learning what it means to be human. Before Claire could second-guess herself, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Marcus, not romantic, not sexual, just desperately grateful for someone who understood. He held her carefully, like she was one of Elena's orchids, precious, capable of blooming, worthy of patience. Thank you, Claire whispered against his shoulder. For stopping. Thank you for getting in the car, Marcus replied. For choosing to live. They stood there, two broken people holding each other together, until Sophia's voice drifted from upstairs. Daddy? Claire? Where did you go? Marcus pulled back, smiling despite the emotion in his eyes. We should get back before she stages a search and rescue. But as they left the greenhouse, Claire felt something shift inside her chest. Not healing, not yet, but the beginning of it, the first green shoot pushing through frozen ground. That night, after Sophia was asleep, Marcus presented Claire with 3 envelopes at the kitchen table. I've been thinking about what comes next, he said carefully. The roads will be clear by tomorrow afternoon. You'll be able to leave if you want to. If you want to. Again, that crucial phrase. These are your options, Marcus continued, laying out the envelopes. Option 1, plane ticket to anywhere in the world, first class, plus $10,000 cash, fresh start, no connections, complete freedom. Claire stared at the first envelope, her heart racing. Option 2, 6-month lease on a furnished apartment in New Haven, near Yale, job referral to my colleague's nonprofit that helps domestic abuse survivors, salary that will support you independently, stability, support, but separate from us. The second envelope gleamed with possibility. Option 3, Marcus's voice softened. Stay here as long as you need. No conditions, no expectations, no timeline, just safety and space to figure out who you are when you're not surviving. 3 envelopes, 3 futures, all of them hers to choose. Why are you giving me this choice? Claire asked, her voice trembling. Because Derek never did, Marcus said simply. Because choice is the first step toward reclaiming your life, and because whatever you decide, I want you to know it's yours, not mine, not anyone else's. Claire reached for the envelopes with shaking hands, feeling the weight of autonomy for the first time in years. Before she could open any of them, Sophia appeared in the doorway, dragging Edgar the elephant and clutching a piece of paper. I made you something, she announced, climbing into the chair beside Claire. She unfolded the paper, a crayon drawing of 4 figures, a woman with angel wings floating in the sky, a man, a little girl, and someone new with yellow hair like Claire's. Above them, a bright sun, and below, a garden full of flowers. The label at the bottom, in Sophia's careful printing, My New Family. Claire's breath caught, her vision blurring. That's Mommy watching us, Sophia explained, pointing to the angel. And that's you. You're not an angel yet because you're still here, but Mommy sent you to us, so you belong in the picture. You belong. 2 words Claire hadn't believed about herself in so long she'd forgotten what they felt like. She looked at Marcus, who was watching his daughter with a mixture of pride and concern. Concern that Sophia had overstepped, that Claire would feel pressured. But Claire didn't feel pressured. She felt seen, chosen, wanted, not for what she could produce, but for who she was. She looked at the 3 envelopes, then at Sophia's drawing, then at Marcus's careful, hopeful expression. Can I? Claire's voice cracked. Can I think about it? Just for tonight. Take all the time you need, Marcus said gently. These options don't have an expiration date. Sophia hugged Claire's arm, leaving crayon smudges on her borrowed sweater. I hope you pick option 3, but Daddy's right. You should choose what makes you happy. What makes you happy? When was the last time anyone had asked Claire that question? That night, Claire lay in the guest bed holding Sophia's drawing in one hand and the orchid cutting in the other. 2 fragile things, full of life, full of promise. For the first time in 5 years, she allowed herself to imagine a future that wasn't about fixing herself. Maybe, just maybe, she was already enough. Techniques, emotional stakes, pacing, accelerated, authentic dialogue. Claire woke to shouting. Not inside the house, outside, at the gates, amplified by the morning silence and fresh snow. I know she's in there. Claire, get out here, you selfish bitch. Derek's voice, slurred and venomous. Claire's heart stopped, She threw off the covers, stumbling to the window. Through the iron gates, she could see his truck idling, him standing in the snow, phone raised like a weapon. You think you can just run away? Make me look like a monster online. Derek screamed toward the house. 3 million people saw that video. My boss called me. My mother called me. You've ruined everything. Marcus appeared at Claire's bedroom door, already dressed, his expression calm but lethal. Stay here. Security is handling it. But Claire couldn't stay. She followed him downstairs, watching through the front windows as 2 security guards approached the gate. Sir, you need to leave the property, one of them said, voice firm but professional. I'm not leaving without my wife. Derek lurched forward, gripping the iron bars. She owes me. 5 years I wasted on her. 5 years trying to make a broken woman into something useful. Each word was a knife, familiar and sharp. Sophia appeared beside Claire, small hand slipping into hers. Is that the bad man who hurt you? Yes, Claire whispered, hating that a 7-year-old had to witness this. He's really mean, Sophia said matter-of-factly. Mommy always said mean people are just scared people who forgot how to ask for help. Even now, Elena's wisdom lived in her daughter. Derek's phone rang. He answered it on speaker, clearly drunk enough not to care about privacy. Baby, where are you? Vanessa's voice drifted through the cold air, sickeningly sweet. You promised you wouldn't make a scene. Claire's stomach dropped, hearing her sister's voice, so casual, so complicit. I'm getting our closure, Derek snarled into the phone. She embarrassed us, turned everyone against us. She needs to pay. Derek, just come home. We have the ultrasound at 2, remember? Our baby. Our baby. The words hit like a physical blow. Claire's knees buckled, only Sophia's grip kept her upright. Marcus was already on his phone, speaking quietly to someone, his lawyer, probably, or police. You hear that, Claire? Derek shouted toward the house, emboldened by alcohol and rage. We're having a baby, a real baby, not with some defective eggs. Vanessa gave me what you never could, what you promised me. The security guards moved to physically remove him, but Derek wasn't finished. Your own sister knew you were worthless, he screamed, struggling against their grip. She came to me, said she felt sorry for me being stuck with a broken wife. She offered to give me the family you stole from me. Each revelation was worse than the last, not just an affair, but a calculated betrayal, not just pregnancy, but deliberate cruelty. Claire sank onto the entryway floor, Sophia still holding her hand. I want to go out there, Claire heard herself say. I want to face him. Absolutely not, Marcus said immediately. That's what he wants, to manipulate you, to regain control. He already has control, Claire whispered. Look at me, I'm on the floor, shaking, letting him terrorize me through a gate. How is that different from before? Marcus crouched beside her, his voice gentle but firm. It's different because you're choosing safety, choosing not to engage with someone who's proven he'll hurt you. That's not weakness, Claire, that's survival. But Claire wasn't sure anymore. Maybe survival wasn't enough. The police arrived within minutes. Marcus's call had been to his personal contact in the Hartford PD, someone who owed him favors. Through the window, they watched Derek being handcuffed, still screaming accusations and threats. Drunk and disorderly, trespassing, violation of the restraining order we filed yesterday, Marcus said quietly. He won't be bothering you for a while. Restraining order. Claire hadn't even known Marcus had filed one. You should have told me, she said, something breaking loose inside her chest, not gratitude, but something darker. I was protecting you. By making decisions for me. Claire stood, her voice rising. By taking control just like he did, just with better intentions. Marcus's expression flickered with hurt. That's not fair. Isn't it? Claire's hands were shaking, adrenaline and fear morphing into anger. You've given me options, sure, but they are options you created, boundaries you set, choices within the world you control. Claire, Sophia's small voice, frightened. But Claire couldn't stop. 5 years of silenced rage was finally finding its voice. You swooped in and saved me, and I'm grateful. God, I'm so grateful. But what happens when I disappoint you? When I'm not the project you can fix, when I'm just messy and broken and don't heal on your timeline. You think that's what this is? Marcus's calm was cracking. A project? I don't know what this is. Claire shouted, tears streaming. I don't know if you see me or if you see Elena, if you're helping me or trying to save the woman you couldn't save before. The words hung in the air, brutal and true. Marcus's face went pale. That's what you think of me. I think you're a good man with a savior complex, Claire said, her voice breaking. And I think I'm a broken woman who doesn't know how to accept help without wondering what it'll cost me. It costs you nothing. Everything costs something. Claire was sobbing now, 5 years of pain erupting. Love cost me my job, my friends, my family. Marriage cost me my worth, my hope, my belief that I deserved anything good. Survival cost me my dignity. She grabbed the 3 envelopes from the kitchen table where she'd left them. So yes, Marcus, these choices cost me too. They cost me the belief that I can make it on my own, that I'm strong enough to rebuild without a billionaire's rescue. Marcus stood frozen, gutted by her words. Sophia started crying, overwhelmed by the adult conflict. Please don't fight. Please don't leave, Claire. But Claire was already moving, grabbing her ruined dress from the guest room, shoving the baby blanket into her pocket. Where are you going? Marcus followed her, his voice tight with controlled emotion. It's 20 degrees outside. You have no car, no money. I'll figure it out, Claire said, knowing it was stupid, knowing it was self-destructive. I always do. This is pride talking, not logic. Maybe I need pride right now. Claire whirled to face him. Maybe I need to know I can survive on my own terms, even if it's harder, even if it hurts. Marcus's jaw clenched, fighting his instinct to argue, to convince, to control. Fine, but take this. He pulled out his wallet, extracting every bill inside, probably $2,000. It's not charity, it's not control, it's me hoping you don't freeze to death again because you're too stubborn to accept help. Claire stared at the money, at Marcus's wounded expression, at Sophia sobbing in the hallway. Every instinct screamed at her to stay, to apologize, to let this good man love her. But the louder voice, Derek's voice, internalized after years of abuse, whispered, "You'll ruin this too. You ruin everything you touch." "I'm sorry," Claire whispered, taking the money because she wasn't suicidal, just broken. "I'm so sorry." She walked out the front door into the bitter cold, leaving Marcus standing in the entryway and Sophia crying for someone who'd been in her life less than a week but had already carved out space in her heart. The gates opened automatically. Outside, police were loading Derek into a cruiser. He saw Claire and started screaming again, but she didn't hear the words. She just walked, snow crunching beneath borrowed boots, no destination in mind. Behind her, the mansion's door stayed open, Marcus silhouetted in the frame, not chasing, not forcing, just watching her choose destruction over salvation. Because that's what broken people do. They push away the very thing that could heal them, terrified that healing means owing something they can't repay. Claire made it 3 blocks before collapsing on a bus stop bench. Marcus's money crumpled in her fist, the baby blanket pressed against her chest. She'd left the orchid cutting behind. The bus stop bench was frozen, biting through Claire's borrowed clothes. Not the life-threatening cold of the park, but cold enough to remind her of where she'd been 3 days ago. Where she'd almost died. The money in her fist felt like judgment. She uncrumpled the bills, counting mechanically. $2,300, enough for a motel, enough for a few weeks of survival, enough to prove she could do this alone. Except she didn't want to do it alone anymore. That's the problem, she thought bitterly. You got comfortable, you let yourself need them. A bus rumbled to a stop, doors hissing open. The driver looked at her expectantly. You getting on? Claire stared at the steps leading up, leading away, leading toward whatever independent life she could scrape together with $2,000 and a history of failure. Miss. Sorry, no. Claire stood, walking away before the driver could ask questions. Her feet carried her without direction, past the cafe where Sophia loved hot chocolate, past the park where Marcus had found her, past the life she'd almost let herself believe in. She ended up at a women's shelter on the south side, New Beginnings Residential Center. The sign read, somewhat faded but welcoming. Inside, it smelled like industrial cleaner and coffee. A woman at the desk looked up, her expression shifting from administrative to concerned. Can I help you? Claire opened her mouth, closed it. What was she supposed to say? I had safety and I ran from it because I'm terrified of owing someone kindness. I need, her voice cracked. I don't know what I need. The woman came around the desk, her name tag reading Patricia, director. That's okay, honey, most women who come here don't. Let's start with basics. Are you safe right now? Physically. Claire laughed without humor. Yes, emotionally, I'm not sure I've been safe in years. Patricia guided her to a small office, gestured to a worn but comfortable chair. Talk to me. And Claire did. Everything spilled out in a rush. Derek, the park, Marcus, the 3 envelopes, the fight, the running, 5 years of abuse and 3 days of hope and the terror of not knowing which one was real. Patricia listened without judgment, taking notes occasionally. This man, Marcus, did he ever threaten you, pressure you, make you feel unsafe? No, Claire admitted. Never. He was kind, respectful, gave me choices. Then why did you run? The question sat between them, simple and devastating. Because, Claire's hands twisted the baby blanket in her lap. Because I don't know how to accept kindness without waiting for it to turn cruel. Because Derek was kind once too, before the diagnosis, before I became a disappointment. So you're protecting yourself, Patricia said gently, by leaving before Marcus can leave you. Yes. The truth of it made Claire's chest ache. Can I tell you something? Patricia leaned forward. I've been running this shelter for 12 years. I've seen hundreds of women come through those doors, and you know what the saddest cases are. Claire shook her head. The ones who finally find someone good, someone safe, and run from it because they've been conditioned to believe they don't deserve good. Patricia's expression was kind but firm. Survival mode is essential when you're in danger, but you're not in danger anymore, Claire. You're in grief, and there's a difference. What if I hurt them? Claire whispered. What if I'm too broken to be around that little girl? What if I teach her that women are weak and damaged? What if you teach her that women are strong enough to ask for help? Patricia countered. That survival sometimes looks like accepting a hand up, that broken things can heal if given the right environment. Claire thought of Sophia's drawing, of the orchid cutting, of Marcus's grief-worn face watching her walk away. I said terrible things to him, Claire confessed. Accused him of having a savior complex, of seeing me as a project. Did you mean them? Claire paused, really examining her words. I don't know, maybe part of me did, the part that's still listening to Derek's voice, still believing I'm worthless. Patricia slid a tissue box across the desk. Here's what I know, you can stay here tonight, we have a bed available, or you can go back and have the hard conversation about boundaries, expectations, what you need to feel safe accepting help. What if he doesn't want me back? The question came out small, childlike. Then you'll survive that too, Patricia said. But Claire, don't make that choice for him. Don't assume you know what he's thinking or feeling. Don't protect yourself by destroying the first good thing you've found in years. Claire looked down at the baby blanket, at the tiny embroidered ducks. I bought this 3 years ago, kept it hidden because I was ashamed of hoping. And now I'm ashamed of running. Back at the mansion, Marcus sat in Elena's greenhouse, surrounded by orchids and silence. Sophia was upstairs, finally cried out and sleeping. Mrs. Chen, his mother who'd arrived within an hour of his panicked call, was keeping watch. He held the orchid cutting Claire had abandoned, so small, so fragile, needing specific conditions to survive. Maybe I am a savior complex, he thought. Maybe I do see Elena in every broken woman. His phone buzzed, his head of security, Derek made bail, restraining order is active, we're monitoring. Marcus set the phone down, staring at the cutting. He'd done everything right, hadn't he? Provided safety, given options, respected boundaries. So why had it felt like control to Claire? His mother appeared in the greenhouse doorway, elegant even in her concern. Marcus, darling, you need to eat something. I'm not hungry, Ma. She sat beside him anyway, studying the orchid. This is about more than that girl. Her name is Claire, Marcus said quietly. Claire, then. His mother's voice softened. This is about Elena, about all the ways you couldn't save her, about guilt you're trying to resolve by saving someone else. Marcus's jaw tightened. You think I'm using Claire? I think you're a good man who's trying to make meaning from tragedy, she said gently. But Marcus, you can't heal Elena's wounds through Claire's recovery. That's not fair to either of them. I know that, he said. But did he? Do you? His mother took his hand. Because from where I'm sitting, you've opened your home, your heart, your daughter's heart to a stranger. And that's beautiful, truly. But it's also terrifying for someone who's been hurt, someone who doesn't understand unconditional kindness. I gave her choices. Within your world, your resources, your control, his mother said, not unkindly. You meant well, but Claire's right. Those aren't really her choices if they all depend on you. The words stung because they were true. So what should I have done? Marcus asked, genuinely lost. Maybe just asked her what she needed instead of deciding for her. Maybe let her mess up and struggle without rushing in to fix it. His mother smiled sadly. Love isn't always rescue, sweetheart. Sometimes it's just bearing witness to someone's pain without trying to solve it. Marcus looked at the orchid cutting, remembering Elena's journal entry. I'm so tired of trying. He'd tried so hard with Elena, thrown money at fertility treatments, arranged adoptions, repeated affirmations. But what she'd really needed was permission to stop trying, to be enough as she was. Maybe that's what Claire needed too. Not rescue, but recognition, not saving, but seeing. What if she doesn't come back? Marcus whispered. His mother squeezed his hand. Then you let her go, and you trust that you planted something good, even if you don't get to see it bloom. Claire stood outside the mansion gates as sunset painted the snow orange and pink. She'd walked the 3 blocks back, each step a choice, each choice a small act of courage. The gates were closed, security cameras tracking her movement. She could turn around, could go to the shelter, could choose pride over vulnerability. Or she could press the intercom button and risk being rejected, risk hearing Marcus say I'm done trying to help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Claire's finger hovered over the button. Behind her, a car slowed. She tensed, turning, expecting Derek somehow free again. But it was just a family driving past, the kids in the back seat waving at the snow. Normal people, Claire thought. Living normal lives, making normal mistakes, accepting normal help. When had she decided she didn't deserve normal? She pressed the button. Static crackled. Yes. A woman's voice, not Marcus, not Sophia. My name is Claire. Her voice shook. I need to speak with Marcus, please. I know I don't have the right to ask, but... The gates swung open before she could finish. Claire walked up the driveway, every step feeling like miles. The front door opened before she reached it. Marcus stood there, still wearing the same clothes from this morning, looking exhausted and guarded in equal measure. You came back, he said quietly. I shouldn't have left. Claire stopped a few feet away, giving him space. I'm sorry, for what I said, for how I left, for making Sophia cry. Marcus's expression didn't soften. Why did you come back? Not I'm glad you're safe or come inside. He was protecting himself now, and Claire couldn't blame him. Because I went to a women's shelter and the director asked me if you'd ever hurt me, and I said no, and then she asked why I ran from someone who'd only shown me kindness. Claire's voice cracked. And I realized I was running from myself, from the voice in my head that sounds like Derek, that tells me I don't deserve good things. Marcus leaned against the door frame, listening but not inviting her in. You were right about the savior complex, he said finally. My mother pointed it out. I was trying to save you the way I couldn't save Elena, making decisions I thought were helpful but were really about my need to fix things. And I was wrong to throw that at you when you were just trying to help, Claire countered. I accused you of control when you were offering freedom. I couldn't see the difference because Derek made kindness a weapon for so long. They stood there in the cold, 2 wounded people trying to figure out how to move forward. I don't want to be your project, Claire said softly. But I don't want to do this alone either. I need help, Marcus. I need support and time and probably therapy, lots of therapy. I don't want to rescue you, Marcus replied. But I don't want to watch you suffer alone either. I care about you, Claire, more than is probably wise given we've known each other less than a week. Sophia drew me into her family, Claire whispered. And it terrified me because the last family I had destroyed me. We're not them, Marcus said firmly. But we're also not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, have hard conversations, hurt each other unintentionally. That's what real relationships look like. Real relationships. Not rescue missions, not dependencies, relationships. Can we try? Claire asked. Slowly, with boundaries and honesty and no more running. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. On one condition. Claire braced herself. You tell me what you actually need, not what you think I want to hear. If you need space, you say it. If you need help, you ask. If I'm overstepping, you call me out. His dark eyes were intense. I need you to trust me enough to be honest, even when it's hard. I can try, Claire said. If you promise to let me struggle sometimes, to not fix everything, to let me figure things out even if it takes longer than you'd like. Deal. Marcus finally stepped aside. Come inside. Sophia's been worried sick, and my mother wants to meet the woman who ran out into a snowstorm twice. Claire stepped into the warmth, and immediately Sophia came barreling down the stairs, Edgar the elephant flying behind her. You came back. She crashed into Claire's legs, arms wrapping tight. I thought you left forever like Mommy. I was so scared. Claire knelt down, pulling the little girl close. I'm sorry I scared you. I was confused and needed to think, but I shouldn't have left like that. Are you staying now? Sophia's eyes were red-rimmed, hopeful. Claire looked up at Marcus, who nodded slightly. Your choice. If your daddy says it's okay, I'd like to stay a little longer. But Sophia, I need you to understand something. Claire took the child's small hands. I'm still figuring things out. I might be sad sometimes, or scared, or need quiet time. That doesn't mean I'm leaving, okay? It just means I'm healing. Like the orchids, Sophia said with perfect 7-year-old wisdom. Daddy says they look dead sometimes, but they're just resting. Exactly like that. Claire smiled through tears. An elegant older woman appeared from the living room, appraising Claire with sharp but kind eyes. I'm Margaret Chen, Marcus's mother, and you must be the young woman who's turned my son's household upside down. I'm sorry, Mrs. Chen. Don't be sorry, be smart, Margaret interrupted gently. My son has a tendency to steamroll people with good intentions. You're allowed to push back, to set boundaries, to be a person instead of a recipient of charity. Marcus groaned. Mal. She needs to hear it, Margaret said firmly, then turned back to Claire. You're welcome here as long as you need, but remember, accepting help doesn't make you weak. Refusing help out of pride doesn't make you strong. Find the balance, and you'll be fine. 1 year later. The ballroom of the Hartford Grand Hotel glowed with soft lighting and purpose. Banners reading New Beginnings Foundation hung from the ceiling, tables full of donors and survivors mingling over champagne and hope. Claire stood at the podium in a midnight blue dress, confident in a way that would have been unimaginable a year ago. When I started working with New Beginnings, she said to the crowd, I was a woman who'd been abandoned in a snowstorm, told she was worthless because her body couldn't do what society expected. I believed it, internalized it, almost died because of it. Scattered applause, murmurs of recognition. But someone stopped. Someone saw me freezing and chose to help, not because I deserved it, but because I was human and humans deserve dignity. Claire found Marcus in the crowd, Sophia beside him beaming with pride. This foundation exists for every woman who's been told she's broken, to remind her that broken is a lie abusers tell, and healing is a choice we make every single day. The applause was thunderous. After her speech, Marcus approached with Sophia, his smile soft and genuine. You were incredible. I was terrified, Claire admitted. Brave and terrified aren't opposites, Marcus replied, taking her hand. I'm proud of you. Sophia tugged on Claire's dress. Can we do the thing now? Please. Marcus laughed, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket. She's been asking all week. Claire knew what was inside. They'd discussed it for months, made sure she was ready. Marcus knelt down so Sophia could be part of the moment. Claire Bennett. He opened the envelope, revealing not a ring box, but adoption papers. Will you be Sophia's mother, officially and legally? Claire's vision blurred. She'd expected this, prepared for this, but the reality still overwhelmed. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, absolutely yes. Sophia launched herself into Claire's arms, squealing with joy. I'm going to have a mommy again, a real mommy. You always had a real mommy, Claire said gently, holding the child close. Elena will always be your first mom, I'm just lucky enough to be your second. Marcus stood, pulling them both into an embrace, and that's when Claire delivered her own surprise. There's something else, she said, her heart racing. Something the doctors confirmed this morning. Marcus pulled back, reading her expression. Claire. I'm pregnant. The words felt surreal. 8 weeks, naturally, impossibly, against every diagnosis they gave me. Marcus stared, his composure finally cracking completely. How? The doctors said. Stress-induced infertility, Claire explained through tears. My body shut down under the emotional abuse. It wasn't broken, Marcus. It was protecting itself, and now that I'm safe. She didn't need to finish. Marcus pulled her close, his own tears falling freely. You were never broken. I know that now, Claire whispered against his shoulder. Sophia wedged herself between them, confused but delighted. Wait, does this mean I'm going to be a big sister? Yes, sweetheart, Marcus said, voice thick with emotion. This is the best day ever. Sophia announced to the entire ballroom, and everyone laughed, applauded, celebrated this impossible, beautiful, hard-won family. Later that night, after the gala ended, the three of them stood in Elena's greenhouse, now theirs, a space they tended together. The orchid-cutting Claire had abandoned a year ago had finally bloomed, delicate purple flowers cascading like a waterfall, proof that dormancy wasn't death. Elena would have loved this, Marcus said quietly, touching the blooms. Would have loved you, both of you. Claire placed her hand over her still flat stomach, feeling the impossible life growing there. I hope she knows we're okay, that Sophia's okay, that her orchids are thriving. She knows, Sophia said with absolute certainty. She's the one who sent the snow that night, so Daddy would find you, so we could be a family. Maybe it was true, maybe it was a 7-year-old's magical thinking, but standing there in the warmth, surrounded by Elena's legacy and new life, Claire chose to believe it. She pulled the baby blanket from her bag, the one she'd clutched while freezing, the one she'd hidden in shame for years. I'm ready to let this go, she said, holding it up. Ready to stop holding on to old dreams and start living new ones. But Marcus shook his head. Don't throw it away, give it to our child, let it be a reminder that hope survives even in the coldest places. Claire looked at the blanket, at the tiny embroidered ducks, and understood. It wasn't evidence of failure anymore. It was evidence of survival. Okay, she said softly. For our child, for all of us. Sophia grabbed their hands, forming a circle in the greenhouse. Can we make a promise? All of us. What kind of promise, sweetheart? Marcus asked. That we'll always stop for people who need help, Sophia said seriously. Like Daddy stopped for Claire, that we'll be a family that sees people, not walks past them. Marcus and Claire exchanged glances, both remembering that frozen night a year ago. The choice to stop, to help, to risk opening a heart already scarred by loss. We promise, they said together. Outside, snow began to fall, but this time, it looked like magic instead of death, like new beginnings instead of endings, like a world where broken things could heal if given the right conditions. And in the greenhouse, surrounded by blooming orchids and hard-won love, Claire finally believed what Marcus had told her that first night. She was never broken, just waiting for the right place to grow.